All right, everybody. Good morning. Great to see everybody or hear them. We are really excited to be here this morning. Today, we're going to talk about Schoolwork and Classroom, two absolute favorite apps here at Apple that can really help you to be able to manage your classroom. So just a couple things before we get started. Just a general disclaimer, we are not permitted to broadcast, reproduce, live stream any of our content. So please don't take any screenshots. We appreciate that. So just to introduce ourselves, I'll go first. My name is Jess Garrigan, and I'm the Apple Education Leadership Executive for West Virginia. I've been with Apple a little over a year, and I live just north of West Virginia in Pennsylvania. And I'll let Jeff introduce himself as well.
Yeah, hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Webb. I'm the systems engineer for the state of West Virginia from Apple. I'm also a homegrown Apple employee. I am born and raised in Raleigh County, West Virginia, and happy to be here with Jessica this morning to talk to you guys about some really cool products for the classroom.
So we want to start out by just saying a huge thank you to all the educators out there. We know that this has been one of the most challenging years in public education that I've ever known in my 17 years in education. And so we just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for all of your hard work this year. And we hope that you can go into next school year with some new tools, some new tricks to empower learners all across the state of West Virginia. So today we're 9 o'clock. We're going to do this Discover Schoolwork and Classroom session. But we just wanted to let you know we have lots more sessions available throughout the day today. Next at 10 o'clock, we're going to do a day in the life. We're going to walk you through what a regular student day would look like using an iPad in all of their classes. This afternoon, come back and see us. We're going to talk about how to create a culture of professional learning with Apple Teacher. And then don't miss our 3 o'clock because Jeff is going to give you lots of big news from Apple Education about things that have come out in the past couple months and maybe some teasers of some things that are coming out in the fall. And then tomorrow, we're going to end it all up with an Everyone Can Create session, which is going to be super hands-on. Come get your hands dirty, bring your iPad, and we're going to do some creating. So today we're going to talk about Schoolwork and Classroom. This summer, we're introducing some great new features for these two apps. We know that many schools across West Virginia are using Classroom and Schoolwork, especially during remote learning. Schoolwork was used a lot across West Virginia. West Virginia's commitment to Apple. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, and he's going to share with you about Schoolwork to start off.
Yep. Thanks, Jess. And I always like to start off a Schoolwork session by saying, well, let's talk about what it does do, and let's talk about what it doesn't do. First and foremost, there are three main things that Schoolwork does. Number one, it allows the teacher to assign work to students. Number two, it allows the teachers to track the students' progress on those assignments. And finally, it allows the teacher to track the student performance on those assignments as well. And usually when I say that, the first thing I hear from the first feedback I get or the first question I get is, hey, this sounds a lot like an LMS. And I want you to know up front that this is not an LMS. Schoolwork is more of a complement to an LMS. Indeed, we do have the ability to share things through handouts, assign work directly to. There is real-time feedback, the ability for the teacher to send real-time feedback to the student. Also, to personalize instruction. And it's my opinion that this is really where Schoolwork flexes its muscle, and it's in that personalized instruction where the teacher can see how the student's performing. Are they lagging behind? Do they need assistance to catch up to the rest of the crew? Or are they overperforming? Do they need challenged a little bit more? So that's really where I see Schoolwork flexing its muscles. I kind of look at it as the app that lets me keep my hand on the pulse of my class and how they're doing. Are they getting it app, if you will. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide, Jen. And let's talk about the latest design update that we had going into last fall, and that's going to be our Schoolwork 2.0. We came out with an all-new design for Schoolwork, and this has been a big help. It's starting to feel and function more like our Files app, so a much more familiar feel. We also featured the handout library as well as the handout detail view. We're going to take a look at that here in just a second. We also turned on a new feature called Return to Work and Ask to Try Again. This is when maybe the student didn't put out their best effort, yet we want them to try one more time and perhaps take even a third or a fourth try on the work. So let's move on to the next slide, and we'll take a look at the layout here. So this is the 2.0 layout. And if you notice at the very bottom, this is going to be the teacher's view. The students is very similar to this with one exception. At the bottom of the screen, you're going to see we have the handouts layout, which is where we're at. But the teacher also has what's called the students layout. And we're going to take a look at that here in just a minute. That's going to give us that view into that critical student data we were just talking about. Now, if I'm a teacher and I want to create a new class, it's super simple. In the very top right-hand corner, you can see we have those two icons there. The one that you're going to want to press is going to be the one with the two students there with that little plus sign beside of them. And it brings up this window here. We're going to go ahead and name this class. We're going to call it Math Small Group. And then we're going to choose an icon. And then we're going to work our way through. Go ahead, Jess, and click Next, if you will. This quote-unquote magic starts to happen. The ability to add students to the class is really easy with a new feature that we've implemented called Managed Apple ID Auto Create. What's super cool about this is when I go to manually add my students to my class and I start to type in, let's say I wanted to add myself to the class. I'll start to type in my name, J-E-F. When I do that, any student who has the letters J-E-F in their name, those will pop up and allow me to choose from the list. And as you type more, of course, the list will get smaller and smaller. And then you'll find, oh, there's Jeff Webb. Let's add him. So it's a really nice feature that allows us to quickly get our classes up and running. Once we've built those classes, if we wanted to, we could actually add that entire class and then pick and choose from the student roster if we needed to. So it helps us build classes really quickly. Now we're going to, once we've built our class, what we want to do is we want to actually use the product. We want to assign some work to our students. It's really quick and easy. We hit the new assignment icon. And then we get this screen here. Notice in the top, we've already assigned it to our math class. We could add students there individually if we wanted to, add classes, add groups of students. So we have a lot of flexibility there. Next, we're going to name it. We're going to call this our integers exercise. And we have turned on the due date function, and that due date is tomorrow. Now, next is where we start to see the really cool features. We're going to have the ability to add an app activity. We're going to dive a little deeper into the apps here in just a little bit, but that's one of the big keys to the success of Schoolwork is the ability to add app activities and to harvest that data from those apps, the performance data that the students are going to have. We can also add files. Those are going to be, PDFs, spreadsheets, those type of programs. Also, photos or videos. If you wanted to record yourself doing a lesson, teaching the lesson, and add that, this is a great opportunity to do that as well. And finally, this was a new feature back in the fall as well. We have the scan document function, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper in a couple slides into that as well. Notice on our assignment, we have added the Kahoot activity. Kahoot is an app activity. We've added a Pages document as well, and there's also a link to an integers investigation worksheet that we've added at the bottom as well. Before we go on to the next screen, though, I want to say this specifically about our situation here in West Virginia and what made Schoolwork really attractive to us specifically. If you remember the beginning of the pandemic, the governor stated that only 40% of our student population had reliable internet. This is something that really allowed Schoolwork to kind of show its promise. And that is because we can add activities on here that do not require internet. This is the key. App activities that will run local on the iPad, not requiring the internet connection, or assign work that they do not need that internet connection for. So when the student takes the assignments home, if they don't have that internet at home, they can actually complete that work at home Then when they return to school, or if they go to, say, McDonald's or somewhere with free Wi-Fi, they can connect and then submit that homework. So this was a big key to a lot of the success that some of our districts had as far as their schoolwork endeavor. So let's go ahead, Jess, and move on.
I just want to add
cool.
too, Jeff,
yes,
just real quick, Jeff, one of the cool things, one of the things teachers really like is the fact that when you create one of these handouts, you can add multiple activities. So instead of, for grading on the back end, when you're reviewing students' work and giving feedback, you're able to sort of cluster your experience for the kids instead of it just being all these individual activities. They're all grouped together, which is something that teachers and I love.
Yes, that is a great point. Now, when Jess hits next, we're going to get an option here. This is a new feature as well. Because one of the requirements for schoolwork is students and teachers must have managed Apple IDs. Because they're leveraging the power of the managed Apple IDs, they get the options here for collaboration when we're talking about Pages Number Keynote, what we call the iWork suite. On this, we have the option, number one, to give each student their own copy of this file, something that they can edit and personalize and turn in that we could grade, as well as the option for students to collaborate together. So if we sent out, say, a presentation on Keynote, we wanted them to collaborate and build this together. This is a great opportunity to use that collaboration feature. Also, you can make it look like a worksheet that they just can't edit, something they could not have any write capability to, so read only, if you will. And that's the only you can make changes option. So it's really neat to have those options when you're handing these out. So go ahead, let's move on next. This is an example if we had allowed the personalization to the document. Notice that Darla has started working on her document. Now, something I want to point out, really nice feature. Even though Darla put her name on here, a lot of times I know I didn't in school. Look at the very top, our integers investigation worksheets, what we send out to each individual student. However, it has appended Darla's name to this so we know exactly whose worksheet we're looking at when this gets turned in. So that's a really great feature as well. Moving on, we will look at, go ahead, Jess. This is that scan the document feature. I absolutely love this. I know there's a lot of you teachers out there holding on to those old worksheets. You just love to go photocopy and hand out, and you're deep down you wish you could convert these to digital and send these out. Well, now you can. This is the scan document feature, and this, I want you to know, this is a white piece of paper that we're looking at, but you see that blue overlay we see? That is actually the iPad identifying the corners and scanning on this image to take in this entire image. So that we'll go to the next screen. Once we do this, we have a full digital version of the Parts of the Flower worksheet. Now we can send this out to the students, and notice what the students can do. You see the palette at the bottom of the screen? They can now mark this up and send this back into us. They can label right on the document as if we'd sent out the worksheet, the physical worksheet itself. They will then turn this into us in Schoolwork, and we'll have the opportunity to grade that. Now, we mentioned the apps and the ability to assign apps. Why is this so cool? So first and foremost, we have over 180,000 educational apps in the App Store. Go ahead and move to the next screen, Jess. Beyond that, inside of Schoolwork, we've created a technology called ClassKit. ClassKit allows app developers to open up their apps a little bit more to educators. And what I mean by that is it gives us the ability to dive deeper into the app itself. Go ahead and, if you would, click, Jess. Excuse me. What we're going to do, we're actually going to assign an assignment in Swift Playgrounds. Swift Playgrounds is our coding app. Hopefully everybody's taking advantage of that. It's free. What we're going to do, we're actually going to dive down into Swift Playgrounds and pick out a specific exercise. What's so neat about this is, number one, we get to send that specific exercise to the student. When the student opens up their exercise, they're taken directly to this specific assignment instead of having to leaf through the app itself and find what we're asking them to do. So it takes them directly to the assignment, which is fantastic. But that ClassKit functionality also helps the student be able to feed that data back to the teacher, that progress and performance data. So that's the magic of ClassKit. Now, if you're wondering what apps are ClassKit compatible, you can go to appstore.com/ClassKit. We'll make this available for you too. I'll post this in the chat. But you can go there and see there's well over 100 apps that are now ClassKit compatible, and the list grows every day. So we'll go ahead and look at the next slide there, Jess. So this is a quick look at some progress data for the students. We're looking at who's finished, how far along they are, what question are they on. We can get really granular with some of this data and to dive deep into this. We can see who's working, who's not. Perhaps one of the students is offline and maybe they're going to turn it in later, or maybe they're Jeff Webb and they're just procrastinating till Sunday night and they're going to turn it in Monday morning. Go ahead and click, Jess. So we also can dive deep and look into the scores of the students, and we can compare their, see we have brought up Sheila Bohens. We've brought up her data there. We can look at her score. She brought up an 88%. Notice we can even look at her total time on task. We see she is 100% done. We can get pretty deep into this. Kahoot even lets us dive deeper. Depending on the app itself, you can even look at how many explain views the students used. Are they using those extra features to help them achieve? So it's really, really great feedback that we're getting. Go ahead, Jess. We'll look at the next screen. Again, we have the ability here on the Students tab. Now we can look at the students, see where they are on their individual assignments, see how many students have assignments that are out, who needs to turn stuff in. So it's really nice layout, really intuitive, and definitely giving us some really great information. Next slide. Again, if we wanted to, we can dive deep on the students page again, look at Sheila's progress specifically. Here we see that she has several that she needs to try again. That's that feature that we mentioned earlier. She didn't perform as well on those, so we sent that back for her to give it a second shot. Let's go ahead and move forward. So these are the type of progress that we can share within ClassKit. And again, this is more on the developer to set this up, but you can look at the time spent. We did see that. Binary values of yes or no. Obviously, the points earned, and of course, progress and score are going to show up as percentages. So these are the types of values that we can actually get the feedback from their progress inside of Schoolwork. We did mention some of the requirements. If you want to jump back there, Jess, you do have to use a managed Apple ID. Your school district will need to enable student progress for you to see that student progress, and the teacher will assign the activities in Schoolwork. Something to note here, as far as your data, it's very key for us here at Apple. This is a top priority, is your security and privacy. I want you to know that the owner of this data is not the school district. It is not the app developers, and it's most certainly not Apple. It is the teacher of the class who created the class. That teacher owns this data. That is your data. So very, very happy with that. So let's do a quick recap. This can all be set up in Apple School Manager. Again, we need the school district to turn on that progress inside of Apple School Manager. It's going to leverage the power of the managed Apple IDs. You can create and share those activities out to your students. We saw all the many different ways you could do that. You can absolutely assign those app activities and get that student progress and performance data. Most importantly, we give you the opportunity to tailor that instruction to the student's needs. That is really, again, where this product really shines. So we're going to put the guide up here. Again, this is something we're going to post into the chat. This is the Getting Started with Schoolwork guide, to help you get started and get up and running with the guide. Again, we gave you kind of the requirements there, but this will help you kind of get tutored up and ready to roll. And we did release this spring a new update. It's 2.2. We did refresh that design a little bit. Again, we're making it function and flow a lot more like our Files app, if you're familiar with that. You can now, I'm super proud of this. I just want to point this out. I'm super proud of this second here. View student progress on files and links. The reason I'm so pumped about this came as a result of direct feedback from our schools here in West Virginia. I cannot speak highly enough about the work that is being done here in Nicholas County, Ritchie County, Pleasants County, all these counties that are doing such great work with Webster County. They're doing such great work with Schoolwork, and we're able to get them in contact with the product team, and they are really helping to shape the future of what this product looks like, and I'm so proud of that, and just thrilled to see that their feedback is not only heard, but it is absolutely shaping this product. Finally, we introduced common cartridge file format. That common cartridge file format's a pretty key feature for a couple of reasons. An LMS that you are building assignments in that supports this, and you wanted to move this assignment or this classroom into Schoolwork as well, you have the ability to do that because of the common cartridge file format support. Also, if you were like my old school district, we actually jumped in whole hog with the predecessor to Schoolwork. Jess, I'm going to put you on the hot seat here with a pop question here. Do you know what that predecessor to Schoolwork was?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, Jeff. What is it?
It was iTunes U. So yeah, quiz time. Right. Sorry about that. It was iTunes U. So we actually, in my school district, we jumped into and created a lot of content on iTunes U. The nice thing about that is they both support this common cartridge file format, and I want everyone to know that we have announced the sunset or end of life of iTunes U. So that product is going away. If you've built up a lot of curriculum or classes in iTunes U, Common Cartridge will allow you to port those all of that content into Schoolwork so that you can continue using that. So I want to say thank you so much for listening to me talk about Schoolwork, a product that obviously I'm pretty passionate about. I think Jen might have a question to throw up for us, maybe something if you want to toss into the chat there. Your favorite Schoolwork feature, and I'm going to hand it over to Jess to talk to you about Apple Classroom.
Thank you so much. Every time I hear you talk about Schoolwork, I learn something new. So we'd love for you, if you have some ideas about your favorite features of Schoolwork, to pop those in the chat. Like Jeff said, West Virginia has become a recognized user of Schoolwork, especially during remote learning, but we're seeing schools all over the state continue to use Schoolwork once we're back in school. And if you need any support with Schoolwork, if you don't already have it and you have iPads, feel free to reach out to our team, and we can definitely help get that set up for you at your school. We've just seen so much power in having that communication and easy workflows with our kids. Even our youngest learners have been able to Schoolwork. And I've just been so impressed by how West Virginia has really been a leader in using Schoolwork in innovative ways. Michelle, thank you for your comment. She just said, I like being able to control the apps on the student iPads and getting that data. Actually, we do Kahoots all the time. I've done a million Kahoots, but a lot of times, I didn't really dig in and look at that data in a way that could help my kids continue to learn and figure out what their strengths were and what they still needed to work on. Yes, Amy, notifying the teacher when assignments have been submitted. So you get great little notification now. So you know when kids are turning things in, and you can provide them with all the feedback that you need to give them to guide their learning. So thank you for sharing. We're going to talk a little bit about Classroom now. Classroom is literally a tool that just became a game changer for me as a teacher, as an instructional coach. And it was really important for my teachers in my school district. My teachers like to call it their personal assistant, and they started to not be able to live without it. I remember one day we had some issues with Wi-Fi, that happens. And they were just, what am I going to do without Classroom? Teachers love Classroom because it puts them in charge of every iPad and Mac in the classroom, allowing them to view the student's screen, keeping students focused and learning. even when kids aren't doing the same thing. We've heard from a lot of schools lately that they want to start really experimenting or continuing to use small group instruction and rotational learning, and Classroom helps that all to be possible. And we have some new updates exciting for the fall. So let's take a listen to one of my friend Tanya as she shares her story of using Classroom. So let's hope the audio works on this.
Okay, I am not hearing the audio.
Okay, I apologize. It looks like the audio feature, let me just, give me 1 second. We tested this and it totally worked, of course. And if not, we will just skip by it and keep going. Okay, let me try one more time to see if we have the audio here. I want you to hear Tanya's story if possible. If anybody can pop in the chat and tell me if you can hear Tanya speaking instead of me, that would be great. Thank you.
Unfortunately, we cannot hear Tanya.
Okay, well, we sounds like you can't hear that, so that's good to know for the rest of our day. So Tanya just shares about how she's able to just share things with students in Apple Classroom, different than Schoolwork. So Schoolwork is really for doing assignments where you're having this, you want them to turn something back into you. You want to be able to give them feedback. Apple Classroom is really about being able to manage that classroom management that we know is so important to having a successful classroom. So just some key features of Classroom. You can manage student iPads or Macs. You can share and receive documents and links. So this is really great on the fly. So let's say I didn't have time to put something in Schoolwork ahead of time, but I know I want my kids to go and investigate elephants at the National Geographic website. I can very quickly send them to all the kids to the same website. I don't know about you, but I remember the days when we would try to get kids to type in a long URL, and it would take 10 minutes to get all the kids to the website. With Classroom, you can just easily send that link out. You can open them up into apps. You can apps to help them to stay focused. You can see exactly what the students are seeing on their screen live. You can see the activities in the class summary that I'll show you in just a second. And we do have the ability to do teacher, or you can have your IT department create classes that are synced based on your rosters. Some new features that we'll take a look at in a second is we have an all new design on the sidebar. So again, like Jeff said, it's looking more and more like a Files app. So everything looks really consistent for easy navigation for you. You can quickly create groups. So like I said, that small group instruction where I have a group of readers that need a different type of text, I can assign that text to them or send it to them through Classroom. We have enhanced smart groups, and we'll take a look at that. And the very important part, drum roll please, Apple Classroom, and so much feedback during writing, now has remote learning support. So even if students are at home, maybe it's a snow day and students are at home for some reason, we will be able to have some capabilities of being able to manage their iPads even from home. This was the big one. I was very excited about that remote support because so many people asked for that.
Big feature.
Yeah, huge. So here's a look at the new release of Apple Classroom. And as you can see on the left, we have all new design. So it used to be that all your buttons were up top. Now they're down the side. And you can see that sidebar makes navigation easier than ever, both for iPad, if you're walking around your classroom, or on your Mac. If your Mac is at your teacher desk, you can do both, manage your classroom on both devices. You'll notice just a couple, let's get in a little deeper here to the navigation. You can see we have a new here. So you have your all students like you used to have. You have your remote students, nearby students, and offline students. So these students are at home. The nearby students are right in front of me in my classroom. And then I can see if any kids are offline, which is another huge feature that teachers ask for. So I can go and troubleshoot those kids that are offline for any reason. You can also see on the sidebar here, you can see the numbers of which apps students are in during your instructional period, as well as your groups right at the bottom. So everything is right there. And of course, we have our other buttons at the top. If I want to navigate students to a website, if I want to open them all in an app, or if my kids send me anything through AirDrop, I will receive this right here as well. For students and teachers that are learning remotely, like I said, we've enabled feature. So this is the screen of a kid that is at home. Once students are signed into their devices with Managed Apple ID, it's as easy as making a phone call on the student's iPhone. When the teacher requests for the student to join the class, the student will get like a ring notification, and they'll get a pop-up notification that requests for them to join. Once they're connected, the teacher will be able to navigate the students to specific apps, view their screens, and also see a summary in the data of the engagement, of what happened, what they were doing during your instructional period at the end of the session. So we are very excited about this. So just a quick note here, this is a little bit more on the technical side, but when working with students remotely, again, everything is private within Classroom. So this is why we require that Managed Apple ID feature, especially for students that are at home. Students can request to disconnect, and you can even set a specific amount of time that you want students to be in your class. With this new design, the improved navigation, and the ability for students to connect regardless of where they are, we are really excited about how you're going to use these new features for Apple Classroom when you start school in the fall. And these updates are they are available. They were much awaited. So if you haven't heard about it yet, make sure to talk to your school about it or talk to us and we can help you to get that set up. So one final feature, just to call it out, that my teachers really loved and just makes life easier is if you have an Apple TV in your room, you can easily click on a student's name and AirPlay their screen up through your Apple TV to your projector, or if you have a TV in your room, like a monitor in your room. I always call this feature out because this is a key to encouraging collaboration and celebrating student work. I just absolutely loved to be able to walk around the room, see a student doing something awesome, amazing, tapping that button to AirPlay their screen, and then turning the classroom over to the student, right? So it's not just me up front, blah, 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 but the student becomes the teacher. The student becomes the one that can share their learning and share their creativity. Love that feature. Just a reminder that that is available through Classroom. So I'm going to skip over this video because we don't have audio. Finally, the ease of dragging and dropping to the whole class or just an individual student. And this is an older screenshot of the older interface, but it works just the same. I tested it. So when you're in split screen, you will easily be able to, and this is like, I get this question like a million times. So this is a super like power tip. If you go into split screen, so you have Classroom on one side, you have the Files app on the other side. Same with photos. A lot of times I put photos on the side. You can easily just take your finger and drag that file either over to the whole group of kids or to an individual kid. I always use this if I had a kid that came into class late and we had already gotten started. I could easily drag a file or a photo right to that student. Another really fun, yeah, it's so great. One of my students, or one of my teachers taught me, I love this. She would have a bunch of like really funny little memes in her photo library. And if a student was, you know, a little unfocused, maybe she would just drag that meme over, and it might be like a dog saying, pay attention, or something silly, just to bring the kids' attention back to the work. Or she had a bunch of little photos that were celebrations, like great job. And so using Apple Classroom as a way to encourage classroom culture and get kids excited about learning, I just love to see all of those examples. And if you have any examples about how you've used Classroom in creative ways, please let us know. We would love to share your stories with other teachers across the country that are using Classroom. Finally, when class ends, the teacher gets this awesome summary of everything that the students were doing during class. And you, again, just like schoolwork, you can tap on the student and drill down into specifically what that student was working on, which apps they opened throughout the class period. You can see those little color bars show you which the beginning of class, the end of class, were this app. I will tell you, one of the best things I saw one of my teachers do once is opened up the class summary, dug to students' data, took a screenshot of it, and sent it to the parent and said, hey, I just wanted you to know that Victoria did an amazing job in class today. And here's some data to show you that. So that parent communication, being able to celebrate with a quick screenshot is awesome. It also could be used if a student is off task, right? You know, we all know that sometimes students might do a Google search or might do be on an app they're not supposed to, or write something inappropriate. The teacher can just screenshot that and be able to have documentation of that event. Unfortunately, sometimes those things happen. We all know that as teachers. The ability with Classroom to be able to monitor and stay on top of what's happening in the classroom is just an absolute game changer with iPad. So let's take a quick pause and talk a little bit about how are you using Classroom, or how could you use Classroom to empower learning in your classroom? So I'd love a couple of you to share with us in the chat about how you're using Classroom already, if you're using Classroom, or what do you think you could do with Classroom? I know I shared a lot of my personal stories about Classroom, but it really, in my school district, it became just one of those tools that it was really exciting to see how it changed from everything being about the teacher to things being about the students leading the learning and being actively involved in the learning.
Jess, I know in my old school district, when we were able to roll Classroom out, it really helped the teachers. They had initially that feeling of apprehension, knowing that we were rolling out technology into the classroom. A lot of them were worried about, you know, do the students know more about this device than I do? And now with Classroom, it just doesn't matter. You know, it gives the control back to the teacher and helps put away some of those apprehensive feelings. So it's a really fantastic app that I saw a lot of success with.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And I think one of the things that my teachers shared too, and I really saw firsthand, was how easy it was to use it for the teacher. Like at first we thought, oh, we got to do a lot of training on this, to make sure everybody knows how to use it.
Yeah.
And like I did a little 30 minutes with the teachers and running with it. So it was a heavy lift, which I think is because it's just so simple. Like it just works,
intuitive.
Yeah,
very intuitive design.
Absolutely. I am going to pop in the chat just one more user guide. So if you're interested in using Classroom, or if you just want to sort of refresh your skills with Classroom and make sure that you're using all the newest features, I'm going to pop our user guide for Classroom in the chat. Feel free to bookmark that. That guide is really going to give you a lot of information about the brand new features of remote classroom. If you're interested in trying that out, pay attention when school starts. We're all kind of a little bit unsure of what everything's going to look like in the fall. Hopefully every kid is back in our classrooms, and that's my hope. But thinking about cases where maybe that remote feature would be really beneficial. Yeah. We're excited to see how people start to use that remote capability with Classroom.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if that can eliminate the snow day myself. A couple of logistical items I'd like to go over now that we've come to the end of the presentation. I would like to mention that both of these products are 100% free. These are free and available to you to use today. Apple Classroom, only the teacher needs the app. Only the teacher needs it on their device. The students do not need that. On Schoolwork, again, 100% free. Both students need to have the app on their device. Apple Schoolwork does require, as we mentioned, it does require the managed Apple ID. Apple Classroom does not necessarily require that. However, you will not have all the features that Jess mentioned, specifically the remote capabilities. Those will not be there if you do not engage the Power ID. Schoolwork is iPad only. Apple Classroom will work on iPad or Mac. So just an FYI there.
Yeah, and good call out, Amy. Amy just said that classes created in Schoolwork will sync over with Classroom, which is absolutely true. Thanks for calling that out, Amy.
Yes, and that is part of that magic that happens by using that managed Apple ID. Anything you create on one of these apps will sync up to Apple School Manager and then sync down to the other app. And it works both ways.
All right, we do want to give a couple minutes here for, just have 2 minutes for any questions you might have about Classroom and Schoolwork. And pop them in the chat. That would be great. And if you have any other questions, maybe you think about something once school starts, feel free to reach out to Jeff and I. We also have Angela Miller on the call today, who is our account executive for West Virginia. Many of you know her. Feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. That's what we're here for. And we are really looking forward to seeing how West Virginia teachers in particular take Classroom and Schoolwork to levels we haven't even imagined before. We love to hear those stories and see how it impacts student learning all across West Virginia. So thank you so much for being here today. Remember, we do have a bunch more sessions at 10 o'clock. Patrick Drafton from our Apple Professional Learning Specialist from Cabell County is going to join us to talk about in the life of iPad. And then we have some more sessions about Apple Teacher, what's new from Apple, and then tomorrow we're going to do an Everyone Can Create workshop, and we would love to see you there. So feel free to join us. So any more final words, Jeff?
Big teaser for the 3 o'clock session. We're going to talk about something big that's going to help everybody with the creation of those managed Apple IDs, make life a lot easier. So don't miss that session. All
right. So thank you so much. We are going to end the session and we're going to pop over to our 10 o'clock. So if you'd like to come with us, we'd love to see you. Thanks so much, everyone.
See you, everyone.